morning, sixth graders. Here's your next little bit. We're finishing up chapter 15. A few minutes later, we were sitting at a booth in a gleaming chrome diner. All around us, families were eating burgers and drinking malts and sodas. Finally, the waitress came over. She raised her eyebrows skeptically. "Well," I said, "we want to order dinner. You kids have money to pay for it?" Grower's lower lip quivered. Ooh, I was afraid he would start bleeding, or worse, start eating the linoleum. Annabeth looked ready to pass out from hunger. I was trying to think up a sob story for the waitress when a rumble shook the whole building. A motorcycle the size of a baby elephant had pulled up to the curb. All conversation in the diner stopped. The motorcycle's headlight glared red. Its gas tank had flames painted on it and a shotgun holster riveted to either side, complete with shotguns. The seat was leather, but leather that looked like Caucasian human skin. The guy on the bike would have made pro wrestlers run for mama. He was dressed in a red muscle shirt and black jeans and a black leather duster with a hunting knife strapped to his thigh. He wore red wraparound shades, and he had the cruelest, most brutal face that I had ever seen. Handsome, I guess, but wicked for sure, with an oily black crew cut and cheeks that were scarred from many, many fights. The weird thing was, I felt like I had seen his face somewhere before. As he walked into the diner, a hot, dry wind blew through the place. All the people rose as if they were hypnotized, but the biker waved his hand dismissively, and they all sat down again. Everybody went back to their conversations. The waitress blinked, as if somebody had just pressed the rewind button on her brain. She looked at us again. "You kids have money to pay for it?" The biker said, "It's on me," and he slid into our booth, which was way too small for him, and crowded Annabeth against the window. He looked up at the waitress, who was still gaping at him, and said, "Are you still here?" He pointed at her, and she stiffened. She turned as if she had been spun around, and then marched back toward the kitchen. The biker then looked at me. I couldn't see his eyes behind his red shades, but bad feelings started boiling in my stomach. Anger, resentment, bitterness. I wanted to hit a wall. I wanted to pick a fight with somebody. Who did this guy think he was? Then he gave me a wicked grin. "So you're old Seaweed's kid, huh?" I should have been surprised, or maybe scared, but instead I felt like I was looking at my stepdad, Gabe. I wanted to rip this guy's head off. "What's it to you?" Annabeth's eyes flashed a warning at me. "Percy, this is..." The biker raised his hand. "It's okay. I don't mind a little attitude, long as you remember who's the boss. You know who I am, little cousin?" Then it struck me why this guy looked familiar. He had the same vicious sneer as some of the kids at Camp Half-Blood, the ones from Cabin 5. "You're Clarice's dad," I said. "Ares, god of war." Ares grinned and took off his shades. Where his eyes should have been, there was only fire, except empty sockets glowing with miniature nuclear explosions. "That's right, punk. I heard you broke Clarice's spear." "She was asking for it." "Probably. That's cool. I don't fight my kids' fights. You know what I'm here for? I heard you were in town. I got a little proposition for you." The waitress came back with heaping trays of food. Cheeseburgers, fries, onion rings, and even chocolate shakes. Ares handed her a few gold drachmas. She looked nervously at the coins. "But these aren't..." Ares pulled out his huge knife and started cleaning his fingernails. "Is there a problem, sweetheart?" The waitress swallowed hard, then left with the gold. "You can't do that," I told Ares. "You can't just threaten people with a knife." Ares laughed. "Are you kidding? I love this country. Best place since Sparta. Don't you carry a weapon, punk? You should. It's a dangerous world out there. Which brings me to my proposition. I need you to do me a favor." "What favor could I do for a god?" "Something a god doesn't have time to do himself. It's nothing much, really. I left my shield at an abandoned water park here in town. I was going on a little date with my girlfriend. We were interrupted. I left my shield behind, and I want you to fetch it for me." "Why don't you just go back and get it yourself?" The fire in his eye sockets glowed a little hotter. "Why don't I turn you into a prairie dog and run you over with my Harley? Because I don't feel like it. A god is going to give you an opportunity to prove yourself, Percy Jackson. Will you prove yourself a coward?" He leaned forward. "Or maybe you only fight when there's a river to dive into, so your daddy can protect you." I wanted to punch this guy, but somehow I knew he was waiting for that. Ares' power was causing my anger. He'd love it if I attacked him. I didn't want to give him that satisfaction. "We're not interested," I said. "We've already got our own quest." Aries' fiery eyes made me see things that I didn't even want to see. Blood and smoke and corpses on the battlefield. I know all about your quest, punk. When that item was first stolen, Zeus sent his best out looking for it. Apollo, Athena, Artemis, and me, naturally. If I couldn't sniff out a weapon that powerful... He licked his lips as if the very thought of the master bolt made him hungry. Well, if I couldn't find it, you've got no hope. Nevertheless, I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. Your dad and I go way back. After all, I'm the one who told him my suspicions about old corpse breath. You told him Hades stole the bolt? Sure. Framing somebody to start a war. Oldest trick in the book. I recognized it immediately. In a way, you got me to thank you for your little quest. Thanks, I grumbled. Hey, I'm a generous guy. I just do my job, and I'll help you on your way. I'll arrange a ride west for you and your friends. We're doing fine on our own, thank you. Yeah, right. No money, no wheels, no clue what you're up against. Help me out, and maybe I'll tell you something that you need to know. Something about your mom. My mom? He grinned. That got your attention. The water park is a mile west on Delaney. You can't miss it. Look for the Tunnel of Love ride. What interrupted your date? I asked. Something scared you off? Aries bared his teeth, but I had seen his threatening look before on Clarice. There was something false about it, almost like he was nervous or something. You're lucky you met me, punk, and not one of the other Olympians. They're not as forgiving of rudeness as I am. I'll meet you back here when you're done. Don't disappoint me. After that, I must have fainted, or maybe I fell into a trance, because when I opened my eyes again, Aries was gone. I might have thought the conversation had been a dream, but Annabeth and Grover's expressions told me it was not. Not good. Not good, Grover said. Aries sought you out, Percy. That is not good. I stared out the window. The motorcycle was gone. Did Aries really know something about my mom, or was he just playing with me? Now that he was gone, all the anger had simply drained out of me. I realized Aries must love to mess with people's emotions, and that was his power, cranking up the passions so badly that they clouded your own ability to think. It's probably some kind of trick, I said. Forget Aries. Let's just go. We can't, Annabeth said. Look, I hate Aries as much as anybody, but you don't ignore the gods unless you'd want serious bad fortune. He wasn't kidding about turning you into a rodent. I looked down at my cheeseburger, which suddenly didn't seem so appetizing. Why does he need us? Maybe it's a problem that requires brains, Annabeth said. Aries has strength, but that's all he has. And even strength has to bow down to wisdom sometimes. But this water park, he acted almost scared of it. What would make a war god run away like that? Annabeth and Grover glanced nervously at each other. Annabeth said, I'm afraid we'll have to find out.